Well, good morning and welcome into the Real Monica Adams Show. How was your weekend? More importantly, all of you dads, did you have a good one? Did your family spoil you as you so justly deserve? It was a good day for you. You know, we're talking about rain here or there, but don't think it's a complete washout. So don't cancel outdoor plans altogether when you see the possibility of rain in the forecast. We took my mom out on the boat on Saturday, had an incredible time, dodged a few raindrops here and there, but that's what the bimini top is for on those boats, right? We had a great time. Didn't go down to the Ozarks. Some people were asking me that. Nope, we were right there in Lake St. Louis and had an enjoyable time for sure. Of course, you know I lost my father almost 30 years ago. So Father's Day is always a little hard. And for all of you that don't have your dads, I understand. Trust me. If you do, embrace him even more and understand your blessing. So we're going to talk to our Beckett Moore in just a second with our What the Weather segment, see what he did for his dad. We'll get into some news you can use. We'll talk about sports. The Bommarito 500 was yesterday. A lot of dads went out to that. The U.S. Open. If you didn't go to Bommarito 500, maybe you were perched on your couch or went to a bar, went to a restaurant, looked up at the TV, watched the U.S. Open. We'll talk about the St. Louis Cardinals. And then we're going to get into our segment of the day. Gwendolyn Gulley-Pleasant. She is the author of a book that has to do with autism. And we all need to be more aware of the way we are communicating, from an analytical thinker to those that are in a normal conversation. What we think is very simple, right? The metaphors we use, the idioms, the euphemisms, they don't understand that. So some verbal cues that she's going to give us, and some more of an awareness that we need when we are around someone who is, in fact, autistic or on the spectrum, or you maybe have heard of Asperger's in the past. We'll talk about all of that with Gwendolyn Gulley-Pleasant. She is my guest coming up for you on the Real Monica Adams Show. So let's get to it. We start off with a segment that we call What the Weather.
Good evening from St. Louis, Missouri, and it is a beautiful one.
All right, we've been talking about rain in the forecast and when will it ever stop? Let's first of all say good morning to our aspiring meteorologist, Beckett Moore. How are you?
Good morning. How was your weekend?
It was good. So what'd you do for your dad yesterday?
We went out to lunch with him.
Very good, as long as you took care of him, because he deserves it. Your father is amazing. Actually, his entire family is, really. So people are talking about whether they can make those outside plans or not. It's kind of spotty here and there. Now I'm hearing that come midweek, we could have some severe weather, but in a particular area. I'm looking, though, for you to tell me what's going to happen on Saturday of next week, because we have our big poker run with Dude's Playground, and I thought I saw somewhere that it was going to be really, really hot and sticky. So we're going to let you give us the forecast as we kick the beginning of the week off, and then how things are looking for the rest of the week. So take it away, Beckett.
Yeah, so current conditions right now in St. Louis, 73 degrees, overcast skies will continue to warm up throughout the day with the dew point at 67, as we do have some showers around, especially to the south of St. Louis. So today's forecast, 73 degrees, overcast skies this morning, a couple of isolated sprinkles, but most of that rain is to the south, farther down I-55. And then as we head into the afternoon, again, those isolated showers in this immediate St. Louis area. But as you head south towards Jefferson County, towards St. Genevieve, all the way down towards Cape Girardeau, that's where we'll see heavier rain today. But just a couple sprinkles really in the immediate St. Louis area. So again, today, showers, possible 40% chance of that, 83 degrees, low of 71. Tonight, as we head into tomorrow, we really warm up into the lower 90s, mostly sunny skies. Now on Wednesday, like Monica mentioned, that is when we have a severe weather threat, 60% chance of some storms on Wednesday. So if you have any outdoor plans for Wednesday, make sure to stay tuned to the forecast with a high of around 88. And then we continue to see sunshine Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and sunshine and warming up all the way into possibly the upper 90s by Saturday.
No. It's going to be very, very hot.
Raining.
Okay, so let's stress this because it's important when we are into the dog days of summer. You've got to wear the sunscreen, right, Beckett?
Of course, yes, and stay hydrated.
Absolutely. Stay hydrated. So I know a lot of you are going to be out there with us on your motorcycles, tops down, since it's going to be dry with maybe your convertibles or your fancy cars. Again, all vehicles are welcome in this poker run, but we want you to be careful for sure. Before we wrap up with Beckett Moore, again, remember to follow him on X and on YouTube. That's where he is most active. Did you go to your cottage over the weekend?
Yes, we did. It was nice, very relaxing.
All right, fantastic. And then while you have the rest of the summer, any big plans for you before you go back to school?
We're going to Montana in August, so excited for that.
Oh, beautiful. I've never been there. Okay, well, I can't wait to see pictures. Can't wait to hear all about it. All right, we will check back in with you to see if any changes happen as we head into the weekend. If you can take the temperature down a little bit for Saturday, I'd appreciate it.
Yeah, I will. I'll try.
All right, Beckett, again, thank you so much. I hope you have a beautiful day.
You too.
Okay, that is aspiring meteorologist Beckett Moore. And again, be sure to let everybody know he has the most accurate forecast for you and where you can follow him again on X and on YouTube. All right, let's get into some news you can use in this one out of Wentzville, Missouri. A lot of you, as you would imagine, are going to be out maybe by your pools and grilling, but you've got to be very careful. This one happened as a grill fire displaced a Wentzville family, and fire crews are issuing some summer safety tips because of it. Now, this actually happened earlier last week. The homeowner said she turned on the propane grill, she stepped inside, and then she heard an explosion. We've got a handful of pictures here for you as you watch this. The fire happened at a home on Tulip Bend Drive on Monday. However, the homeowner said she turned on the grill, she stepped inside, she heard a pop, and then there was a massive ball of fire. It engulfed the back of the house so quickly. Look at those pictures. She said she had used the grill many times and followed her normal routine. She said she opened it, turned on the tank, cleaned it off, was letting it heat up, came inside to get the food ready, and it just exploded. Can you imagine? That video, by the way, I took a snapshot of it, but the video from the fire department has gone viral. The Wentzville fire chief said fires that start outside and move in are very hard to control. They move fast. The heavy smoke, as you can imagine, was visible from blocks away. The home's roof partially collapsed. The back of the structure was scorched. Fortunately, no injuries. She, her husband, the two dogs, the two birds, the two guinea pigs all escaped safely. The firefighters were amazed by all of that. The emotional toll, of course, is heavy as they go through and try to find pictures, family pictures, was everybody always talks about in a fire. So here are some tips. Keep the grills at least 10 feet away from any structure. Clean the grills regularly. This is, again, some tips from the fire department. Keep a fire extinguisher nearby, either in the garage or in the kitchen. Basic steps that the fire department says can make a very big difference. Now, the community has set up a GoFundMe to support the family. We do have that link for you that Jenny is dropping in to help out the family and, again, ensure that they can return to normal. As we get into other news you can use, and again, good morning to all of you. I'll look at your comments here in just a second. Just one fell swoop. Good morning. A high school graduate was paralyzed after getting hit by a bus on a celebratory trip. Think about this. You just graduate. You literally just walk, cap and gown thrown in the air, excited for senior week. You're walking with some friends in the early morning hours last Saturday, and there was a ball that rolled into the street. Well, this gentleman walked into the street. His head was down. He went to pick up the ball and unfortunately was hit by a bus, suffered serious injuries while on that trip, and he's been in the hospital. This is Trevor Volmer, again, a recent high school graduate. This is from Lancaster, Pennsylvania. He continues to tell his dad, look, I just want to leave the hospital. I just want to finish senior week and have fun with my friends. When can I get out of here? A GoFundMe has been set up to help the family with expenses, including travel, temporary housing, food and gas, as well as lack of income. As of right now, he cannot feel from his waist down, according to his father. So we do have a couple of GoFundMes. That one, again, for Trevor. And then we also have a GoFundMe that has been set up for the family with regards to the Wentzville fire. So we'll make sure that we have both of those, and we'll get those dropped in for you throughout the morning. Again, community helping community. There's also, and now we're getting ready to do an interview with a young girl that I had on a couple of years ago with Haley's Lemonade Stand. She sets that up right there at 141 and 21 across from the Pink Elephant in the Fenton area. I can't imagine anything horrific happening like this. There were 3 young girls that were injured after a driver crashed into their lemonade stand. This didn't happen in our area. It was in Morganton, North Carolina. A woman has been charged as those 3 children were critically injured. A 2-car crash. It happened Tuesday afternoon when the SUV pulled out in front of a Nissan Altima. The collision sent the Nissan off the right side of the road into that lemonade stand. 3 girls aged 7, 8, and 9 were hurt when the Nissan hit the lemonade stand. 2 of them were flown to the hospital, the other taken by ambulance. Troopers said all 3 were in critical condition. Nobody in the Chevy or that Nissan were hurt. Troopers said the driver of the Chevy was a 24-year-old charged with failure to yield the right-of-way, causing serious injury. Troopers say neither speed nor impairment were factors. The marks in the grass at the crash site show where the vehicle ran off the road and directly into the stand. Now, there's a lot in the area that are saying that people drive too fast, but they're saying speed and alcohol were not factors in this. The roadway was closed for about 2 hours after the crash. And again, prayers going out to those young girls. All right, tell me if you can imagine this. You're sitting there. A lot of people have their pools open. Maybe they have a hot tub and a pool. You look outside and you go, honey, is that a bear? Yep, it sure was. A black bear caught taking a dip in a man's hot tub, and the neighbors are all going, hey, he had fun. This was in Punta Gorda, Florida. Florida wildlife officials had to trap and relocate that bear, taking a dip in the hot tub and napping, actually. There's a point in the video where you can see the bear take a cushion from one of the lawn chairs and flip it onto the ground and then just lay down and decided to take a nap for hours. The man took a bath in the hot tub, removed the cushions underneath the lanai, and took a 6-hour nap. Wildlife officials say the bear was relocated to its natural habitat last Monday night. It's just think that's one of my fun stories of the day. And then I love this one. A lot of people came out to the ballpark and the ballpark village area. No, the Cardinals weren't in town for it. Instead, it was to raise some big money for Big Brothers, Big Sisters. The Battle at the Ballpark fundraiser. They raised almost $700,000. Love this. Hundreds of people turning out to cheer on the competitors and the children that they're supporting. It was a fierce competition. You ready for this? Rock, paper, scissors. That's what they played to raise money for the organization. The fundraiser brought in $680,000. The goal, $750,000. Donations can be made until July 1st. So I'm going to grab a link from this, send it over to Jenny, and she can drop this in for you to be able to help out the Big Brothers, Big Sisters and have them get to their goal, hopefully, of $750,000. All right. We are going to give you the best burger place. Well, according to some, In-N-Out chosen as America's favorite fast food fries. In-N-Out was chosen, according to a recent study from Seating Masters, based on over 40,000 Yelp reviews. The California-based brand was crowned #1 for its fries, giving the brand a 3.86 out of a 5 average. Shake Shack came in second with 3.7. Freddy's frozen custard and steak burgers snagged third. And I want to know what you think. So here is the top 10, by the way. In-N-Out Burger. We're talking about fries, by the way. Shake Shack. Freddy's frozen custard and steak burgers. Bojangles. Ooh, I'm going to agree with this one. Chick-fil-A came in 5th. And then Raising Cane's, Zaxby's, Arby's, Hardee's, and then Checkers or Rallies. Surprisingly, I think you're all waiting. Where's McDonald's on this list? They received only a 1.91 rating. They used to be way up there. So what do you think of that top 10 list? I think Chick-fil-A has some of the best. I've not had In-N-Out burgers, fries, or maybe I have. They didn't stand out to me, so maybe I'll have to try them again. But what do you think of that list, or do you want to add anybody else into that list? Well, while we're outside and we're out with, the bugs, the insects, the elements, did you ever get stung by one of these? It's going to hurt. Stinging Asian needle ants. They're invading the United States. The Asian needle ant has a sting that is so sharp and sudden and sometimes dangerous, by the way. They're increasingly invading backyards and biting gardeners. They also don't leave trails, so they're hard to find and track. Because they are carnivorous, they're looking for prey like flies and beetles and grasshoppers. Their favorite food is termites. For some people, there have been reports of serious allergic reactions to needle ant stings. Scientists want to inform people about these ants because they reach their yearly peak numbers in July and August. All right, into sports news. Some of you maybe went to this yesterday. This is definitely something that fathers would have enjoyed. The Bommarito 500. First, we're going to tell you the winner, and then I'm going to show you a picture of the accident that happened. Here's your winner. It was Kirkwood. This is Kyle Kirkwood. He rallied late to win the Bommarito Automotive Group 500 NTT IndyCar Series race. His first career win, by the way, on an oval and the third victory on the season. Arrow McLaren's Pato Award finished runner-up in the Bommarito Automotive Group 500 for the fourth time. So congratulations to Kirkwood. And then I am so glad that he's okay. Joseph Newgarden, he was in this crash and literally ended upside down. The hair-raising moment that a lot of people are talking about. No escape for Joseph, who hit his car. The Lewis Foster actually lost control of his car. So Newgarden hit that flip, sliding down the straight. Fortunately, he was unscathed by the massive shunt. The race again won by Kyle Kirkwood, but fortunately, both of those gentlemen are doing okay. If you didn't see that or go to that, maybe you watched the U.S. Open. Who won it? It was J.J. Spaun, weathering the worst of the wet Oakmont to win the U.S. Open. Congratulations to him. And Cardinals news. I'm waiting to tell you that they won, but nope. Milwaukee beat the Cards. The final was 3-2. Now it's the Cards and the White Sox tomorrow. Game time is at 6:40. And then surprisingly, for our National Day of calendar, we only have one thing to news you can use and some talker stories. Let me see all of you that are on this morning wanting to say good morning to you. Congratulations, as again, all the fathers are really the ones that took home the trophies, as you were hopefully honored by your family and friends. Kathy and Sean and Kathleen and Linda, good morning. Good morning, Jenny. She's at home moderating for you. Sheila says, I remember you. I live in St. Louis. You did a great job. Well, thank you. I hope you're still watching. I appreciate you being on with us this morning. Remember, you can comment. You can ask any questions. We are on all of our platforms for you this morning, and those platforms continue to grow. Let me know if there's a platform we're not on that you or your family would like. We are on Facebook, YouTube, X, Instagram, Rumble, and LinkedIn. And then we have a podcast that drops on Thursday mornings. Be sure to listen to that. It's at 8 a.m. It is the audio podcast that drops for you. Otherwise, everything else is live for you Monday through Friday. All right, today we're going to take care of your kids. Parents, I know you would do anything for your children. Can you imagine having not one, but two children with autism? And what do you do with that? How do you protect them in the world? How do you communicate with them? Well, we're going to talk with the author of the book, What Do You Mean? Gwendolyn Gulley-Pleasant. She came out with this book a couple of years ago, and we want to make sure that it continues to have traction. We'll let you know how you can get this. So if you know anybody with a child that is autistic, I would highly recommend that you contact them right now, because they're going to want to listen to this. If you have to run off to work or wherever your day may take you, be sure to come back to this, and then do us a favor and share it, or share it right now to all of your followers and say, hey, watch this. You're going to want to know, how do we communicate with them when they are analytical thinkers? We might be analytical, but we also have this simple conversation, or so we think. We're going to talk with Gwendolyn. She'll be our guest next.
My house is so outdated and old. Can you help?
Let's take down this wall and add a support beam there.
Or just replace the furniture.
I love it.
New sofa, chaise lounge, and tables from Carroll House.
What about this bedroom?
Let's tear down this wall.
Or a new bed, dresser, and accessories.
It's like a whole new room.
Get free in-home design, fast free delivery, and free financing too. Skip the remodel. Add new furnishings from Carroll House for your new perfect room. Because you like nice things.
Discover your full potential with a personalized styling experience. Designing, customizing, and transforming the looks of men and women. Revamp your individual style and embrace what makes you, you. That's real confidence.
When you want to feel good, you work out at Crunch. You don't go here, because here feels bad. But here we help you feel good, feel strong, feel rejuvenated.
Join Crunch Fitness.
This is my wonderful role model, one of my best friends.
She's, oh my gosh, you got a long life. You could probably live to be 130 or something. And I said, oh God, I hope not.
It's getting hot in here. Don't take off all your clothes.
I'm not going to take off my clothes. On the radio tape, going to
Kansas City, Kansas City, here I come. We're gonna spank. We're gonna speak. We're not gonna spank anybody. We're gonna speak about knowing your value, and then I'm gonna.
I'm going to spank them.
If you don't know your value and you don't grab hold of how important you are, I'm gonna spank you. Folks, you never know what you're gonna get with her.
Carroll House has the furniture you're dreaming of.
For big family gatherings, for entertaining friends, or just hanging out.
For working from home or resting after work.
For kids growing up, or young adults moving out.
Whether you're updating your first home, your next home, or your dream home.
Whatever the reason you're shopping, we have the furniture you're dreaming of at Carroll.
Because you like nice things.
And welcome back again. Thanks for tuning in this morning to the Real Monica Adams Show. Love having you with us. And do me a favor, we are very interactive with you. Drop in a comment or a question, whatever platform you're watching on, and we'll bounce around and make sure that you are heard. And I do hope you become very interactive with our guest today. Gwendolyn Gulley-Pleasant, as I was mentioning, she is the author of this book, What Do You Mean? And we'll go a little deeper into this. It's a modern guide to cultivating effective verbal communication and understanding social cues for autistic youth. Gwendolyn, thanks for being here.
Well, thanks for having me. I'm happy to be here.
I greatly appreciate it. And we want to thank a mutual friend, Diane Isbell, for introducing us. So how did you and Diane first meet?
We were at Kohl's department store, and I was in just to get something and get out. And we started talking, and then one thing led to another. She told me about some business that she was in, and we started going to the country club together for dinners. And then she came on the show and then gave you my name.
Yep. And we've been looking forward to having Gwendolyn in for a little while. If you don't know Diane, by the way, and I don't care where you're located, Diane Isbell is a powerhouse and a class act. We've been friends for a while now. Hats by Diane. I can let Jenny drop in a link for you so that when it comes time for you to have a beautiful hat, that she can make that for you. Now I know you enjoy shopping. I know that I know you have a lot of hobbies. But before we go anywhere with this, I want to thank you for your service. You want to tell everybody you served in the Air Force?
I did. I served in the Air Force.
For a long time.
Nearly 20 years.
And so it was interesting reading that you were like, okay, I'll go in for a little bit. Okay, I'll go in for a little bit more. Okay, I'll just stay in.
Right.
You originally, though, wanted to go a different direction. So tell us a little bit about that. It had to do with from a beauty standpoint.
Right. When I was about 9 years old, I started playing around with my own hair. And so I decided I wanted to be a cosmetologist. So my aunt bought me these Marcel irons. So I just taught myself how to use them. So, but as I got into the teenage era and started working for Department of Finance and Administration in famous Hope, Arkansas, my assistant pastor sent my name in to the Marine Corps. Glad I didn't make that. But I ended up in the Air Force, and as you said, I was going to just stay 4 years, get out and go to school. Then I was having a good time. I said, well, I'll do 4 more. That turned into nearly 20.
Yeah, 4 more, 5 times 4 more.
Right.
Well, thank you again for your service. And
Appreciate it.
do you still live around by Scott Air Force Base?
I do. I actually live on Scott Air
Okay.
Force Base now. I'll be moving in a few months.
Well, thank you for coming in from there. We greatly appreciate it. And I'm glad, again, that this book landed on my lap. This is a very easy read, but as Gwendolyn will tell you, it's not necessarily a read where you're like, oh, I'm going to lay by the pool and I'm just, you can, but it's more so a resource book because it allows us to continue to go back and go, well, wait a minute. So we're saying this, we're saying that. It's not computing sometimes. We're going to give you the story of Gwendolyn and her sons, and then we're going to go through, and I want you to think really hard about some of the things that we are saying when we're in normal conversation, the way that we take life, the way that we say, put the pedal to the metal, right? We're talking about the Bommarito 500. Well, to someone who has autism, that doesn't make sense.
No.
They're very analytical thinking. So we're going to talk about all of this. So take us back. You have 2 sons. They're now what, 32 and 30 or almost?
32, yes, 30. Jason will be 31 in December.
31 in December. Okay. So Christopher was born first.
Yes.
And then Jason. So you originally also were putting off having children. And so you've got a surprise that happened and then a shock that happened. You're like, oh, okay. Tell us about that. Take us back.
Okay, well, I had decided, well, growing up, I loved children. I was always holding the babies at church. And then somewhere along the line, I decided I don't want to have children after I got married. And so I was stationed in Dover, Delaware in the 80s. And so one night, my girlfriend just got fed up with me and said, you need to stop saying that. So she said, God might want you to have children. And I said, why? So when I went home, I thought about it. I said, well, Lord, if you want me to have children, you got to change my attitude. and he did. And so some time went on. And after 9 years of marriage, I was over in Pakistan on a mission. And I got sick. And I said, oh, God, I accidentally swallowed some water or something. We have to be careful in places like that. And it was a 4-day trip back to California. Every time we landed and took off, I would just, oh, I'm so sick. Well, when we got back to California at 2 a.m., ended up going to the hospital.
And you're not sick. There's a baby bump.
The doctor came out and said, you're pregnant. I'm not normally speechless, but I said, what?
But how?
Yeah, right. How'd that happen? And so then when I finally accepted it, I said, okay, well, just give me something to make me feel better. He said, I can't do that. You got to check in with the OB clinic on Monday. So that's how Christopher shocked me after 9 years of marriage. I said, oh, my goodness.
Because you were what, 38, 39 at the time?
I was coming up on 39. Oh, yeah, that's right. I was planning to have a tubal ligation at 40 because the Air Force would not do it unless I was 40. I already had 2 children, so I was just waiting out a year and a half. And then God said, well, not so. I'm running this show. And so Christopher arrived when I was just about 39.
And he was jaundice, right?
He was.
And you want to tell people a little bit more about that? You probably heard the terminology. You think, oh, jaundice, right? Yellow coloring. But tell them what happens, and if not treated right, what could happen?
Well, it causes also a bilirubin buildup in the system. It's like a yellow something that has to do with the bile, B-I-L-E, in your system. And so if it's not treated properly, if it gets to a number of like 40 or 50 or something, it can cause brain damage and kill the child. So as soon as Christopher was born, they noticed that he had it, so they took him to the neonatal intensive care unit, also called the NICU. And so he had to stay there. I think he stayed 3 days, and he had to have a blood test every 3 hours.
Wow.
So they stuck my baby everywhere every 3 hours, and I had to monitor his stool when I could see him and things like that. And so then he got better. And then I got another surprise 18 months later. Jason came out and said, wait a minute, I need to close this bank. So Jason had the same problem, and the specialist said that each child that I would have it more severe. It's like my blood traveled across the
Oh,
birth canal and it interacted with theirs and it didn't match. I didn't really understand that since I'm the mother,
right.
but that was part of the problem. And so Jason had it worse. So he was in the NICU for maybe a week to 10 days. And same thing, a blood test every 3 hours. And finally, someone came up with the idea where it's called a Billy blanket, BILI blanket. It looks like a giant sheet of aluminum foil with the cord. So I was able to take him home, and I had to leave him on his back all the time, except to feed him and change. That was very difficult.
Well, sure. And by the way, let me reintroduce my guest. This is Gwendolyn Gulley-Pleasant, and we're talking about this book that is available to you. We looked on Amazon. You can grab it there, and maybe several other places. What Do You Mean?, which came out in 2023. She's talking about, again, when the babies were born. But all of you that are blessed with children, you think about this, and you can't wait for them to bring the baby to you, right? Rest on your chest, feed the baby, just interact, and dad there, maybe children there, etc. You didn't get a chance to have all that. It literally was doing the blood test, coming in, and then taking the baby away. Take us through the emotions of that as a mother going, okay, first of all, this was a shock to me, but now give me that baby. And they're saying, well, no, you can only do this and back, this and that.
Well, that was very difficult with other mothers being able to have their babies. I really wanted to have mine. So it was just hard to go through that, not being able to keep my baby all the time. I was able to keep Jason a little bit in the room just to monitor his stool and that type of thing, but then they would take him away. And then when I got home, of course, I wanted to hold him, but
Right.
they said he's got to stay on this blanket on his back all the time for 10 days.
Oh, I was just going to say, for how long? 10 days.
Yes.
I can't imagine 11th day. Give me that child.
Right, I know. It was tough.
So you go through that first. Now we're going to go through, getting into school. And this is where I'm talking about where a parent would literally do anything for their child when you feel like someone's saying something derogatory towards your child, or you feel like bullying your child. You're hearing these things that either teachers or a principal are saying to you, and you are coming back right away as a mother would of, hey, don't say that about my kid. What were they saying? And what were you going through at the time?
Well, in preschool, the teachers came to me and said, well, Christopher's not interacting and he's not doing this and that. So I immediately got offended.
Sure.
And I began to defend him. And I said, well, what do you mean? What is he supposed to be doing that he's not doing? And so all they could say was he's just not interacting with the other students as they wanted, the other kids, as they wanted him to. And then when he got to kindergarten, the teacher called us almost right away and said, well, Christopher's not doing this. I said, school just started. You haven't even given him a chance yet. And she was comparing him to other students. So we immediately called a meeting with the school board president, who happened to be my friend, and the principal. And that's when they introduced the word Asperger's.
Which is what it was. It's what it was called. It's not called Asperger's syndrome anymore?
Well, the term is still appropriate.
Okay.
Asperger's syndrome is related to autism,
Okay.
except that Asperger's is more of a higher functioning.
Gotcha.
Which my boys are very high functioning.
Okay. So that's what you hear. So for those that are being first introduced to whether it's Asperger's syndrome or the autistic spectrum disorder, people are always saying, oh, I hear about where they are on the spectrum. Are they high functioning or not? Can you break that down a little bit more for us?
Well, high functioning means, well, the way I see it and the way I have observed my children and also other students I worked with when I was in the school district, high functioning, you're able to speak, your motor skills come online on time. My son didn't struggle with any of that. They walked at 9 or 10 months.
Yeah.
They were able to talk. They were reading before they got to kindergarten. So communicating, understanding plain language as you would at 5 years old. But a person who is nonverbal, low functioning, might not walk, or might not even talk. And there are some 18, 19, and 20 who have never spoken.
Oh, wow.
And that's got to be tough.
Tough on so many levels. Obviously, every parent, whenever you are told you're going to have a baby, you want to say, is my child okay? Are they crying as soon as they come out? Do they have 10 fingers and 10 toes? Okay, great. When are they going to walk? Are they going to speak? Can they see? All those things. Very protective, very protective, very protective, as you were and are. And when you're told this and you're starting to go through and wrap your brain around what is Asperger's, what is autism, what emotions are you going through, and your entire family for that matter?
Well, I had never heard of it, so I really wasn't sure how to feel at first. I was just concerned about thinking my child is being picked on. He's not given an opportunity. And I told the kindergarten teacher, the first one, I said, well, don't compare him to other students. Compare him by whatever the standard is. And so we said, well, we want him moved. So we moved Christopher to another teacher. I'll never forget her, Sandy Ruckman. She was amazing as a kindergarten teacher. She was so patient. So I was just concerned of what it really meant.
Sure.
And I was thinking, oh, this is something that's going to pass. It's just, but
Short-lived, right? That's what you were
short-lived.
hoping.
I was
and
hoping
you
that it
talk
was.
about Miss Sandy and how she was truly and meant to be the person that you take your son to, but she was living in what God wanted her to be.
She was. I'll just never forget her. She would never say anything negative about Christopher. Even when she had a tough day, she would just say, well, he did this, or he was able to do that, or whatever. And I would watch the children just run all over her, just pulling on her. I'd say, how do you do it? And so she just loved her job as a kindergarten teacher. So we were really blessed to have her. She helped Christopher get through that, and then he moved on to first grade and so forth.
And that's it. I mean, we say it all the time. Teachers, they are truly angels living on earth.
Yes.
Don't take that lightly because you play such an instrumental role in their life. We all go back and remember a teacher that profoundly changed our lives.
Yes.
Right? So thank you to each and every one of the teachers out there. So we're going to take you through this. I'm going to take a quick break. Gwendolyn Gulley-Pleasant. I want you to look this up, by the way. It is What Do You Mean? A Modern Guide to Cultivating Effective Verbal Communication and Understanding Social Cues for Autistic Youth. Again, 2 children with ASD, the autistic spectrum disorder. We're going to talk about both of them and how they are vastly different, right? So you think about, okay, I have an autistic child, I have another autistic child. Well, I understand this is what they go through. Well, nope, that's not always the case. So we'll talk more about that. Any comments, any questions that you have, feel free to drop them in and we'll make sure that you're heard as well. Don't go anywhere.
Well, hello, my friends. My name is John O'Leary. I was just on the Real Monica Adams show, and it was an amazing experience for me and hopefully for the viewers and listeners as well. What I found sitting down with Monica is the idea of being real is maybe something we use for social media or website or to separate us from others, but it may not be something you experience very often in the real world. Today, Monica was extraordinarily real, not only with me, but with our viewers and our listeners. And through her authenticity and through her honesty and vulnerability, I followed. It was an incredible conversation. We were real about struggle, real about life, real about endurance, real about family, real about faith, and real about the truth that the foundation is firm, that God is still God, that there's reason for hope, and that the best is yet to come. So for those of us who occasionally struggle with being real or being filled with hope or being renewed in a season of struggle, I can't tell Monica and her viewers, listeners, and producers thank you enough for allowing me to be real during the hour together. So for this time, And until next time, my name is John O'Leary. Today is your day. What a gift it is. Live inspired and stay real.
And welcome back again. Thanks for tuning in to the Real Monica Adams Show. Hope you're having a great Monday. We're going to look at some of your comments. We're visiting with Gwendolyn Gulley-Pleasant, again, the author of What Do You Mean? We're talking about children with autism. Do you know someone, or do you yourself have a child with autism? You'll probably resonate with some of the things that we're talking about today. Linda says, good morning, Gwendolyn. My nephew is autistic. He's 20 and lives just south of Mascoutah. Again, you understand. Anne commented earlier. I can't see Anne's comment, but Rose said, Anne, I so appreciate your special ed teaching. Bless you for what you do. I was figuring that she probably made a comment of that. I don't know why, but it's like they all ghosted themselves. I can't see comments before. But she is a teacher. She understands from many levels of working with children with special needs. So we mentioned that Gwendolyn has two sons, Christopher and Jason, and I went into the break saying that they are vastly different. So did you think, oh my gosh, I have another child with autism? Okay, well, at least I understand because I've been here and they're going to be identical. But that was not the case.
No.
No.
When you see one autistic child, you've seen one. So you have to deal with them differently. And there are times when I'll just walk downstairs and Jason might say something and I'll have to stop and deal with that for 45 minutes. And then I'm almost drained. And then Christopher is in the corner with, Christopher is very nosy, first of all. And he just likes to be the person to set everybody straight.
Okay.
He just can't stand it if you go off the straight and narrow. And then Jason is easily offended. So he just takes any type of constructive criticism as just an attack on his character. That has been very difficult for me to combat with him.
I think you mentioned in the book that Jason will get frustrated with himself and then hit himself and call himself an idiot, right?
He will, and I really work on him with that. When he was younger, he scratched himself a couple of times before he went to school. I mean, to where he was actually bleeding. And the first time I saw it, I just started screaming.
Sure.
And so he just feels like, yes, I'm a failure, I'm an idiot. And I say, Jason, if you were an idiot, you wouldn't be smart enough to know you were an idiot.
Such a powerful comment. I got chills now, and when I read that, it's so very true. Yeah. So it's hard for them. They want to communicate, but their brain's not functioning properly in order to do so. And they're trying to connect, whether it's one-on-one or if they're in a room together. So separate the two. From Christopher, what are his greatest strengths and his greatest weaknesses?
Christopher's greatest strength, he has an excellent memory. And he loves music. He's an excellent piano player. He also plays the drums. And so people have tried to stump him with music. He'll say, no, that CD was made in 19-something. He can tell you if it was live or recorded. That song is on number 9 and it's 4 minutes long. And people will try to stump him. They say, well, I got him this time. I'll say, no, you don't. So one of his greatest strengths is he has an excellent memory. And Christopher is just an extraordinary young man. He's extremely dependable. He has never been late for work. He has never called in sick. And he just gets frustrated, though, if somebody is late, thinking he didn't get that from his mom, probably because I'm usually rushing. But one of his weaknesses is he has to learn that when he's dealing with youngsters like 4 and 5-year-olds, that he's not talking to somebody 19.
Right.
As I said in the book, he might say something to a child at church, and I'll say, honey, he's still a baby.
Right,
He
right.
doesn't know that yet.
He wants them to be in the intellectual side of where
Right,
he is,
right,
not understanding the differences in age.
right.
So,
Hmm.
so they are both musically inclined, right? Are they both playing the piano?
Yes,
And who's playing the guitar in this video that we have?
Jason.
This is Jason? Okay. So this is what I want you to understand. There are so many things that they can do. As a parent, do not give up on your child.
Right.
Oh, it's got to chill. Do not give up on your child. They have so much that they can do in the world, but you have to have patience. Can I ask you this? Before both of your children were born, would you have said that you were a woman of patience or not?
No.
Oh,
would
so
have
you
said
had to really learn then.
I had to learn.
Because, well, I know you're faith-based, and we're going to talk about that in just a second, but God would never, you know the comment, right? Or the phrase, God would never take you through something that he wouldn't carry you through. He wouldn't take you up to something that he wouldn't guide you through. And so many people have a struggle with that, to say, but why me? I'm going to ask you if you had that conversation with God. Did you say, why me? And did you say, why me again?
I don't think I ever said that. I probably said, I don't know why I was dealt this lot in life. I don't know why. I don't know, that might be the same as why me.
Mhm.
But going through back to what we talked about with the boys in the hospital and the Billy Rubin, a friend of mine had her third baby, and her baby went through the same thing,
Mhm.
and she was just panicked,
Mhm.
thinking her baby was going to die. And I was able to comfort her. I say, Diana, I've already been through this twice, and my sons are alive, and God is going to bring your son through this too. You just don't panic. So she was able to calm down and work through that. So that was a blessing.
Absolutely, because you were there and you were able to say,
Yes.
oh, I've been here. This is what's going to happen. Be
Mhm.
okay. And you're there. And that's the greatest thing that we can do in life, is pay it forward. And then if something happens to someone else that you're like, oh, wait, we've got them. Let's do this. We'll
Right.
bond together. So we were just talking about Christopher. Now we go to Jason. So you just mentioned that Christopher's got this amazing memory. Jason, however, can walk down the stairs to go get something and completely forget what he was going to go get.
Yes. And I'll be waiting upstairs, and then, well, they like texting now, but way back then we weren't texting. But I'll say, what happened to the glass of cranberry juice or something like that? And Jason will always say, oh, I guess I got distracted. So I say, really? Again? It's just a few feet downstairs. But I have to really be careful with Jason, because I just don't like it when he thinks he's a failure.
Yes.
And I have to reiterate all the time that you are wonderfully made. You are extremely talented. There are people who envy you.
Mhm.
And I say you are insulting your creator when you
Right.
call yourself an idiot
Yeah.
and stupid,
Amen.
because the Lord did not make you that way.
So if he is forgetting, that's what he sees as a failure and a weakness.
Mhm.
So you have to probably maybe 10 times really lift up his strengths
I do.
for him to go, oh, yes, I am. So what are his strengths?
Well, he's exceptionally talented. Jason can, let's say we buy a new object and it's in a box. Well, I'm not going to know how to put it together. And so, for example, I brought this table for the bedroom to put the TV on. And I was just praying. I say, okay, God, I know that you can show Jason how to put this table together. And so he get down and he can just figure out how to put things together. And he can, he has worked his way from just what I call the basics up to being a YouTube, TikTok,
Yeah.
Google star. He
Yeah, how many followers does he have now?
well, I think on one channel he has maybe 600,000.
Yes.
And so he taught himself to play guitar. We had put him in guitar lessons, but Jason has a problem because he's so talented, he gets bored.
Mhm.
And then he wants to just go on without the musical notes.
Mm.
So he taught himself to play the guitar. He taught himself to play the drums.
Is everything by ear, or is it a mixture between reading and by ear?
No, he does not read guitar music.
Okay.
Because he got frustrated with that because it was taking too long.
Mhm.
So I bought him a DVD, and so he'll walk through with the professionals. But he's kind of past that level now. And as far as piano, I discovered years ago, where actually the Holy Spirit told me, Jason can play the piano.
You told him that you actually sang a song and had him.
I did.
Well, isn't that a time where he was calling himself an idiot and I can't do this? There's no way.
Yes.
And you said you can't. He was like, no, I can't. Nope. The Holy Spirit told me you can. Here's what we're going to do. So do you remember what the song was you sang?
It was probably something simple like, Jesus loves me, this I know.
Can you sing a little bit of that? It's one of my favorites.
Okay. Jesus loves me, this I know, for the Bible tells me so. Little ones to him belong. They are weak, but he is strong.
So I'm going to tell you right now, in the movie The Bodyguard, when Whitney Houston sings that, I just get chills, and I just sit there and I cry, and it is just such a powerful song. So you sing that. Imagine singing that to your child, and then you say, play this, because the Holy Spirit tells me that you can play. I believe in you. He believes in you. Your Creator believes in you. And then he plays it?
He played it.
Woo! Come on, chills.
and I said, wait a minute, God, you keep skipping me. I wanted to play the piano, but my sister, her daughter, both my sons, but I had to take the music. I had to study piano. Mm-hmm. But Jason played it. So now Jason is a piano student.
Oh, love it.
I finally convinced him to get with the teacher.
I love this. Again, this is what I'm trying to stress. As you're just tuning in, this is Gwendolyn Gulley-Pleasant. The name of the book is What Do You Mean? We're talking about all the avenues of life that you go with a child, period. Now you're talking about a child that is autistic. So she's got two children that are, again, Christopher and Jason. We're going to talk about the conversations that we have in a room together. Think about getting with your family and friends. You know, you have 4th of July coming up. I want you to think about this. And hopefully today, as you go to those celebrations, and then when you are with family, you're in a one-on-one conversation, I want you to think a whole nother level of the way they think, the way we think, and how we can communicate better together. So don't go anywhere. More with Gwendolyn when we return.
This lady got me in the best shape of my life. I literally didn't know that I could be in shape like that. But the amount that she pours into her clients, and especially whenever you get the one-on-one training, it's mind-blowing. I mean, it was really life-changing. I learned so much about proper form, about nutrition, about just being able to invest in myself. I hired Monica to be my personal trainer, which was one of the best decisions I've ever made.
Carroll House is now the contemporary furniture design center.
We now have the largest selection of the latest ultra-modern furniture.
Sleek European designs, unique metals, bold lacquers, plush fabrics, and retro styles.
Modern furnishings with exclusive collections only at Carroll House.
Plus free financing, free delivery and setup, and free in-home design.
Visit the St. Louis Center for Contemporary Design inside our 3.5-acre showrooms at Carroll House.
Because you like nice things.
You know, we want to thank each and every one of our sponsors. We could not do this show without them and you watching every morning. Just Pools, they were on with us last year, and welcome back. If you have never been to Just Pools, maybe you're driving down 55 and you look over and you see that. That is the beautiful pool that's right there on their property. They're, by the way, located at 3987 West Outer Road South in Arnold. So you may have a pool already. If you do, it's important that you keep it beautiful like that. And it is truly a chemistry class. Right? It's the science of the pH and the alkalinity and the proper, whether you are doing a salt pool or maybe you're doing chemicals, making sure that you know what you're doing. Regularly take your water up, and Madonna and her team will take care of you. Then maybe you want to add to the aesthetic aspect of the way your pool looks. Fire, water features, slides, diving boards, you name it. Right now, 10% off of all those crystal clear chemicals, the toys, the games. Give them a call, 636-464-7110. And thank thank you again, Just Pools, and to each and every one of our sponsors for being a part of our show. We want to thank Carroll House, of course. Carroll House, all of our furniture on set here is from Carroll House Furniture. Defiance Ridge Vineyards, Yuppie Puppy Pet Spa. We also have Crunch Fitness, our latest national sponsor, and Dot Fleshman, Coldwell Banker Gundaker Realtor, and she's on with us once a month doing our Friendship Friday and Realtor segment. Welcome back. Again, we are visiting with Gwendolyn Gulley-Pleasant, and I'll go to some comments that are coming in. Julie says, my mom had me when she was 39, and she was shocked when the doctor told her she was pregnant. She understands, Gwendolyn. Linda says, our Clayton does speak and can communicate to an extent. Right now, he's learning to work in public through a program with his school. He may not be like other 20-year-olds, but he's just the way he should be to us. He loves to draw as well and takes after his Aunt Linda. Again, applaud their strengths. Blessings to you and your family, Stephanie says. Jenny says, I have worked many children being in the childcare industry, and your book is a blessing for many to understand. Rose says, my oldest had ADHD, ODD, and though they didn't actually diagnose him with Asperger's, his doctor believed that he saw glimpses of it. Gwendolyn, I had to sit in front of a school board as they told me everything wrong with my child and wanted to know what I was going to do with him. I felt hopeless and wanted to cry. He's going to be 32, and although he struggles with life, he's super smart, sometimes knows too much, and lectures us about a subject, and we need to redirect him, but he has a heart of gold. Julie says, my autistic nephew loves his music as well. They are such special people. Again, and a lot of people saying blessings to you. Again, thank you for the comments. Keep them coming in now, and when you watch later, you can do hashtag replay and say, wow, this really affected me. I'm going through this with my child, or I know someone, a dear friend or someone in the family as well. I was just mentioning, Gwendolyn, that we're, whether it's a holiday coming up or beyond the holiday, because sometimes I think, do large groups bother them a little bit? Would they rather be in a one-on-one conversation or a smaller group?
With my sons, large group doesn't bother them.
Okay.
They have never been shy. They've been on stage since they were really young.
Mm-hmm.
However, there are some folks on the spectrum who do not want to be around large crowds, and loud noises will bother them,
Yes.
and maybe people bumping into them or touching them.
Right.
That doesn't bother my sons, but Jason will sometimes shy away, and I know it's because he's concerned about what he's going to say.
Sure.
But Christopher will go anywhere and talk to anybody at any time.
I love that. Do you think it's because of what you introduced them to at a young age? And this goes with all of your children. Again, whether your children is quote unquote what you believe normal, or a child that maybe suffers from autism or ADHD or ADD, you have to find what works for them, because you were noticing that people weren't wanting to play with the kids. I know that hurt you, right? They were being bullied. And then finally it is, we're going to introduce them to things that they love. They find out that they're true musicians, that they love the arts. Takes them out of the zone of, I don't feel connected, to, I'm going to perform. I'm a performer. And now people want to see and hear my craft.
Yes, it was tough. As they got older, the differences started to show up more versus when they were in first and second grade. And so they weren't invited to parties, want to go to the cinema, they didn't get invited, those type of things. So yes, it was hurtful. So at that point, I was glad that they had each other.
Right. Absolutely. And you were literally talking in the book, again, the book is called What Do You Mean? Of, I don't know what life would have been like if they didn't have each other. Can you imagine not having a friend, or your child not having a friend? And that's what Gwendolyn and her family were going through at the time. You mentioned, before we get into the communication side, of doing great in what they're doing. What are they doing now? Where are they working?
Well, Christopher works for a company called Challenge Unlimited. And I'm glad you brought that up, because I wanted to say that to help the person who was talking about her son, because Challenge Unlimited is a company that employs people on the autism spectrum who has disabilities, and it's designed to prepare that person to go out in the so-called real world.
Love it.
So Christopher's been working there since 2021, and that is on Scott Air Force Base.
Wonderful.
But Challenge Unlimited is not just limited to that area. I think their home base is Alton, Illinois.
Fantastic. Challenge Unlimited. And then what's Jason doing?
Jason is considered legally disabled.
Okay.
But he is entertaining on Friday and Saturday at his favorite place, Chuck E. Cheese.
Oh,
Fairview
I love
Heights.
it.
We walked in Chuck E. Cheese last summer. He wanted a pizza, and I thought, so he walked in, somebody recognized him, and they hired him. I said, who gets a job like that? What about an application? He said, I don't know. They just hired him.
Gwendolyn, it's a different life now. Hey, aren't you the one on TikTok? Come on over here. So again, I just love, this is the thing that a lot of people, they look at social media or they look at our younger generation and they do this, right? The shaking of the hand. I'm like, no, wait a minute. It's a different world. We always have to evolve. We're going to do generational talk tomorrow. You got to tune in tomorrow. I think you're going to love this because all I care about is that your generation, my generation, and in here, Gabriel Bell is doing some social media for us. He's 20 years old, that we all have respect for each other and that we all understand and we communicate and we say what's on our mind and then we allow each other to understand, well, this is what my generation's feeling. This is what your generation's feeling. We just have to evolve with it, right? So as a parent, as a grandma, grandpa, aunt, uncle, it is not, oh, those kids, because we were called the same thing. Oh, we were in that generation of, oh, those kids. And all we wanted was, no, just listen to us for a second, right? Just communicate with us, which is where we're going to go next from a communication standpoint. And I think this is really powerful. So, in the book, there's several, and we're going to give you this as I walk you through it. It can be, so Gwendolyn said, for example, when I said, Christopher, it is 20 degrees outside. What am I saying? And what did he think?
Well, at first he just looked at me like this. And so I would coach him through. I say, when it's 20 degrees, how do you feel when it's 20 degrees outside? And then he would say, I say, yeah, so what do you need? And he said, oh, probably a coat.
Yes.
I said, exactly.
So we're trying to connect in a communication standpoint, the way their brains are thinking. And one of the things that she stresses in here is from a metaphor to a euphemism to an idiom, that doesn't really compute in their brains. They're very analytical, right?
They're more, I would say more, they're linear thinkers. They're straight line thinkers.
Okay.
It's black and white with them.
Yes. There is no gray.
No.
There's no all these colors and things that we see. That's it. They are just wanting you to speak this way.
Right.
So this is some of the parts. She says, early intervention can improve learning, communication, and social skills, as well as underlying brain development. Applied behavior analysis and therapies based on its principles are the most researched and commonly used behavioral interventions for autism. And many children affected by autism also benefit from other interventions like speech, occupational therapy. There's an estimated 25 to 30% of people with autism that are nonverbal or minimally verbal, fewer than 30 words, or unable to use speech alone to communicate. So that's what Gwendolyn said earlier, in case you're just tuning in. Because you know one autistic person means they're not all the same. That particular child or adult that has autism. Nearly half of those with autism wander or bolt from safety. Nearly 2/3 of children with autism between the ages of 6 and 15 have been bullied. Nearly 28% of 8-year-olds with the autism spectrum disorder have self-injury behaviors, head banging, arm biting, skin scratching, you mentioned earlier, among the most common. Before we get into the communication side, can you tell me, because I did a story when I was in television with a young adult, and he was talking about tapping and the repetition aspect. What do they say is the reason behind that? Why do they do that?
I don't really know what the reason is, other than autistic people are really self-focused. And so I think when they do all the tapping and things like that, it for some children it calms them down to do that. Now Christopher went through that, as I talked about in the book.
Right. Does he anymore?
No, he doesn't do it anymore. But he did it for a long time. My nightstand just suffered multiple assaults.
Yes, she said I had to replace that. How many times did you have to?
Well, just recovered it, I think, one time, and then just finally led him away from it. And we bought him what's called something like it's called a practice pad.
Okay.
And then from there, we moved to a set of drums. And he literally beat those drums to death. And
so some of the things that we see happening as they are going through their early years, their formative years, does that possibly change later in life? Is it possible that some of the things that we're seeing that you're having unbelievable patience for isn't always going to be what they're going to be doing? Do they evolve out of it, or does it transfer into something else?
Well, with my sons, some of the things got better.
Okay.
Some changed a little bit. That might not happen for everybody, but as you just read, I think early intervention is good. And we should not, so to speak, put our head in the sand about this condition, because the child can be helped and guided, but you definitely have to stop and have the patience. I work diligently with my sons to teach them just social things. So they are doing a lot better. Christopher doesn't do the tapping like he did. Jason is still loud, but he's a musician, singer, and dancer.
Well, it works. It
yeah.
works now. One of the things I also want to stress to you, drowning remains a leading cause of death for children with autism, accounts for approximately 90% of deaths associated with wandering or bolting by those aged 14 and younger. So don't let them, I mean, as a parent, you shouldn't let them out of your sight anyway, but just understand that. So from page 21, and again, this is the book, What Do You Mean? Page 21 all the way through page 41. So about 20 pages of this, we talk about the saying and the meaning and the way that we understand things. But as you get ready to go to your 4th of July, or the next time you're in a family gathering, or the next time you're around someone that you know has been diagnosed with autism, Asperger's, understand that so quickly saying something, don't get frustrated when they don't understand. You might need to say it a different way. So saying knucklehead, right? We think, oh, you knucklehead, right? We understand that. But the meaning, a bumbling person who is likely to be clumsy and awkward at doing certain jobs. Pushing the envelope, right? You're saying that, and they're going, what are you talking about? To go past the limit of what is usually done or should be done. Has 2 left feet, right? That's clumsy. Often makes mistakes. Or we talk about a person, oh, the person dancing has 2 left feet. Oh, so they're not a good dancer, or they're struggling through it. But all of these things that we think are just common talk, what happens when we say things like bullheaded, tongue-tied, my heart is hurt? Because they're thinking, like you said, linear. Your heart's hurt? What? Well, oh, no, I'm just upset by something.
Right.
What do you have to do? And there's a lot in here, by the way, and this is just one of many reasons why I think you want to get this book, because she goes through all these things in a pig's. In fact, I'll tell you what, Gwendolyn, some of these I'm like, oh, I don't know that. So I would feel like, wait, what? I'm out of the conversation here. Dumb bunny, a silly person with no experience or knowledge, harmless. Cut the apron string, kind of like cut the umbilical cord, right?
Yes.
So you got to be on your own on this. Put the pedal to the metal, driving fast to work quickly. There are a lot of these. So when and how did you change the way you communicate when you understood, oh, they don't understand this language?
Well, when we would have people over for dinner or whatever meal, I noticed that Jason would always get up and leave. He would normally be quiet at the table, but then I would look up and I'd say, oh, Jason's gone again. And then I figured out he's leaving because he doesn't understand the conversation. He's uncomfortable, and he's so terrified of saying something that he calls stupid. And so then I started to talk to him about it. And after a while, he said yes. And so then the Lord led me to write this book. I got to thinking, well, I could see they don't understand what we're just going on and laughing at the table. And he's just completely, but now Christopher will chime in.
Right.
Even if he doesn't get it, he'll say something.
Let me use this example because, we were talking about the weather. And if you missed our wonderful aspiring meteorologist, Beckett Moore, isn't he awesome, by the way? He's only 15 years old and the kid is just incredible. But if he would, because a lot of meteorologists like to get really colorful and, not just talk scientific, but they'll be like, oh, it's raining cats and dogs, whatever. If your kids were watching that and they hear that, what do they say back to you when they hear it's raining cats and dogs?
You mean before this book?
Yes.
Well, they would probably run to the window and look to see if cats and dogs. Mom, I don't see any cats and dogs coming down from the sky. What do you mean it's raining cats and dogs? Can I keep one of them?
When pigs fly, is there a flying pig up there? Right?
Yeah.
So think about that. There are so many aspects of this. And we're going to end with this, Gwendolyn. So yes, you just mentioned what I think is very powerful, which is you never thought you were going to write a book.
No.
And then all of a sudden, God said, yes, you are. Just like God said your son was going to play the piano. Did you hear the whisper, or how did this all come about?
I think it was a whisper, and I ignored it for years.
We always do that, don't we?
Because I just sometimes drag my feet. I know I can do something, but I'm just a little reluctant to do it. And then finally one day I said, okay, just do it. Because you're being disobedient. You should have done it a long time ago, and I did repent for it, and so I finally finished it.
And I'm glad you did. And I'm glad that Diane introduced the two of us. And I think it's really going to help on so many levels. All right, let's look. Some more comments have come in. My great nephew is autistic. He's 16 now and doing good. Linda says, I will ask my sister about Challenges Unlimited. Clayton does go to different businesses to work. He was getting the chance to work at a restaurant. He would bus tables. Rose said, Gwendolyn, did either of your sons have breathing problems or any issues during delivery?
No.
Nope. So again, keep those questions coming in, and even after the show, and I can make sure that we send these along to Gwendolyn. My autistic nephew loves his music. They are such special people. Absolutely. And that's the thing. I want you to share this because this is a whole nother level of what Gwendolyn's put out, that yes, you might have help. And there are many levels from the healthcare to the school system, education system, of how they can be helped. But now Gwendolyn has put a whole nother thought process for you to go, oh, now we got to watch how we are, how we're discussing, and how, again, embrace that. It's also, as she had mentioned, it's not just like one size fits all. Not everyone's the same. From a physical embracing, what I found in people that I have done stories on in the past, I'm a big hugger, but I know not to just come in because that can scare them. What about your sons? Are they, from a physical standpoint, do they appreciate hugs, or do they have to get to know you?
They appreciate hugs.
Okay, good.
And they've always appreciated hugs, but they got so many hugs from me when they were little and holding up to it, so it came natural. So no, they like hugging, they love talking, and they're just really friendly.
Can you hug them for me? Do that for me. Just give them hugs from me.
Oh, here's a big hug from Monica, Jason, and Christopher. She says she loves hugging.
And there they are, wonderful children. So we end every show, Gwendolyn, with a devotion. And it is breaking us from certain things, whether it's depression or shame or fear and anxiety or anger or overeating. It's 100 Days to Freedom books that we have. Which one do you feel today, after talking about your book, that the world needs to hear? Is it 100 Days to Freedom from shame, from depression, from anger, or fear and anxiety?
I would say fear and anxiety.
And there's the one. Everybody has a tendency to pick that one. Okay, we are going to wrap up our show. And again, if you have any other last questions, Linda just said, thank you, Gwendolyn. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you. A lot of people saying thank you again. Yes, thank her and thank God, really, for having the vision and then her listening to the whisper. Sometimes we ignore the whispers, and I always say sometimes it's a slap in the face, and sometimes you got to punch us in the gut to go do it. Fortunately, you didn't get gut punched.
Right.
All right, 100 Days to Freedom from Fear and Anxiety when we return.
Carol House has the furniture you're dreaming of.
For big family gatherings, for entertaining friends, or just hanging out.
For working from home or resting after work.
For kids growing up or young adults moving out.
Whether you're updating your first home, your next home, or your dream home,
Whatever the reason you're shopping, we have the furniture you're dreaming of at Carroll House.
Because you like nice things.
When you want to feel good, you work out at Crunch. You don't go here, because here feels bad. But here we help you feel good, feel strong, feel rejuvenated.
Join Crunch Fitness today.
And welcome back again in the wrap up of our show. Thank you again to all of you that watched live. If you had to run away, hope you come back and tell your family and friends about today's show. We'll end up turning this one also into one of our audio podcasts that will drop in a handful of weeks. I looked over on Instagram. I don't know why it kicked itself off, but maybe it was a timing aspect. Diane was very interactive over there. Diane said, "Thank you for your service. Thank you for sharing your story about your wonderful sons and your book about autism. Your book is such a great source of information." She said she had met both Christopher and Jason. They're wonderful, intelligent, polite young men. Their musical talents are amazing, and that you are as well, and so honored to be your friend, to have met you, and of course, to have developed this beautiful friendship over the years. I am glad as well. Otherwise, we would have never had a chance to meet Gwendolyn. Gwendolyn picked 100 Days to Freedom from Fear and Anxiety. We'll read this, and then we will make sure that you know where to get this book. And again, as I mentioned, please share today's show, because we really will be able to impact someone's life on a whole nother level. So this one's called Your Time, 100 Days to Freedom from Fear and Anxiety, from our friend Stephen Arterburn. If you keep quiet at a time like this, deliverance and relief for the Jews will arise from some other place, but you and your relatives will die. Who knows if perhaps you were made queen for just such a time as this. This is Esther 4, verse 14. The account of Esther, by the way, in the Old Testament, tells of the salvation of the Jews by a young woman who has been placed in a leadership role, but doesn't feel like much of a leader. She has great support from her uncle, who is distressed over the threat of the annihilation of their people. And in this verse, he's telling her that it's her time to take a stand for her people. He reminds her that she's been given this role in their kingdom, even though she feels uncertain. She chooses to do what she can to make a move because it was her time. In our battle with uncertainty in our own lives, we wrestle with indecision, especially when the stakes are high or there's risk involved. We may feel insecure and doubt that we can actually make a difference. In fact, we seek out others' opinions. We pray, we ask God, what do we do? Gwendolyn, I'm sure, did just that. What do I do now? How do I work through this? Is it still up to us to make the move? Have you been there? It can feel like you're walking a tightrope. One bad step and it's over. The good news, God's got you, right? You may not have a net below. You may not be harnessed to something. He's got you. He'll catch you. Ooh, I got chill. He has equipped you with insight and knowledge for the situations that you will face. Through prayer, through good counsel, and your own experiences, God has a plan for you to make a difference in your world. Now think back on your life. You've already survived every decision you have made up to this very point. Our uncertainty, though, keeps us from stepping onto the path God has for our lives, right? What is the uncertain path? Will we walk that? The uncomfortable path, will we walk that? He wants you to participate in his plan, and that plan will be a blessing to you and those in your sphere of influence. Minnie Pearl said, God has a plan for all of us, but he expects us to do our share of the work. Anne Graham Lotz said, I believe that God has a plan and purpose not only for the human race, but for my individual life. And trusting God's plan is the only secret I know in the gentle art of not freaking out. So here's your prayer for today. Lord Jesus, may I feel your strength as I make decisions in my life so that my choices will honor your plan for me and you will be glorified in my life. Thank you for your purpose for my life. Amen to that. How'd that make you feel?
It made me feel wonderful.
Good.
Love the story of Esther.
Right? And it was so fitting, I believe, by what we talked about today.
Yes.
Right? Making those decisions. So again, What Do You Mean is the name of the book. So Stephanie was asking, what's the name of the book? It is What Do You Mean? It is a modern guide to cultivating effective verbal communication and understanding social cues for autistic youth. And again, I looked on Amazon last night, found it there. Where else can they get the book, Gwendolyn? Is that the best place for us to go?
That's the best place to go for now. I'm trying to get it in Barnes and Nobles, but I've run into a little problem.
Come on, Barnes and Noble. We're going to tag you right now.
Yeah, I have to go back again to them.
Yeah, absolutely. And then near the end of the book, and I think you'll become so aha moments of, I want to write this down. I'm very big on journaling, as you all know. There's several pages for you to write down notes. And the thing that I also love, a lot of resources that you have put in here, and some since you wrote this book that are probably, because I know one of them you wrote coming soon, the one in Franklin, Tennessee. Do you know if it in fact did open?
No, I don't. I meant to check, and I apologize.
Well,
I
no,
don't
that's
know.
okay. Assisted living for autistic adults. So Hope Autism Clinic. Again, she's got several locations in Springfield, Glen Carbon, O'Fallon, Kirkwood, St. Louis, Heron, Illinois, Nashville, Huntsville, hopefully Franklin, Tennessee. A lot of resources for you to go through so that you don't feel alone. I love it.
And the tips are in there good too.
Absolutely. There's so much of a reason. I don't want to give it all away because I want you to get the book.
Right. Thank you.
There's so many tips in here, resources in here, times to be introspective, times to write and say, wow, this is what I felt, but also to keep coming back to it and to learn more and more and more and understand, because every single day it's an education for us. Any last comments or what you want to leave for our audience today?
First of all, I enjoyed being here. And I just want to say that as far as autism for parents, guardians, don't focus on the negative. You're going to help with that, but focus on the positive psychology side. What is it that my child has going for himself? What's the best side of him?
Yes.
So just being curious that even when you're having a tough time, just take a breath, deep breath, settle down, and you're going to have to take a few minutes to deal with what is going on right there.
Yes.
Don't just throw it to the side, but you're going to have to deal with it. But you can get through it.
Boy, you are an incredible human being. Again, Diane, thank you for introducing us together, because just what you said at the end there is an important remembrance in life. Breathe. Calm yourself, find your way to patience, which we all need more of that. And with what you have gone through and continue to go through in life, and all of you, when you are challenged, lean on others for support also. Don't try to go at it alone. Thank you. Thank you for what you've put out for us.
All right,
and thank you
thank
for
you.
coming in today.
Thank you.
And to all of you, thank you for watching. Now do your part. Again, share like crazy, because we will affect others' lives and help throughout the world. Tomorrow, we're going to find respect for one another from a generational standpoint. We started this. It became very popular. This is going to be episode 4 of Gen Talk, or Generational Talk. And I love it. It is a way for us to take from youth to our seniors and pull us all together and go, oh, from a communication point, oh, that's what you mean. Yes, that's what we have to go through. So, Stephanie, thank you as well. Good show, a lot of information. I love it. Again, share it with all of your family and friends. And tune in tomorrow morning and every day, Monday through Friday at 7 a.m., because we start your day with what serves you more, which is positivity, hope, education, light, all those things, instead of the negative side of the world. Focus on the positives. Remember, you can be anything you want to be in life. We believe in you. You got to believe in yourself. And the greatest thing that we can do is share kindness with each other. So be kind, and God bless.